What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, August 26th, 2026, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 1700 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have U.S. nuclear forces on very high alert again today. We just had three 200-character nuclear codes transmitted this afternoon, and a standard length nuclear code or emergency action message is around 30 characters, and these were 200 characters, okay? And actually two of them were canceled halfway through reading them, which indicates a change in orders. But this is very, very concerning. And any time in the past that I've heard these long, ultra long EAMs, emergency action messages, nuclear codes, is always right before something big is about to go down. And remember, yesterday, the CIA director flew to Moscow on an unplanned trip. He was there for 4 hours, okay? That's a very short time. So something is going on, and we're hearing this afternoon coming out of Bloomberg that Putin may soon use tactical nuclear weapons against Ukraine, and Bloomberg cited Kremlin sources, okay? So very, very concerning. Maybe that's why the CIA director flew to Moscow, because they got information or intelligence that Putin was planning to nuke Ukraine. Also, Russia has put their reserves on high alert in Kaliningrad, which is part of Russia, and it's sandwiched in between Lithuania and Poland. So why would Russia suddenly put their troops in Kaliningrad on high alert, specifically their reserves? That's nowhere near Ukraine, okay? The only reason they would put them on high alert in Kaliningrad is if they were planning to soon attack the Baltics and Poland, okay? And the Wall Street Journal reported that the CIA chief flew to Moscow due to the imminent Russian mobilization plans and information about a potential attack on Europe. Okay, so that is major breaking news reported by the Wall Street Journal. And according to the Kremlin, the CIA director met with Russian intelligence officials, and Putin was briefed on the meeting, but he did not personally meet the CIA director, John Ratcliffe. And very interestingly, the Iranian president, Pezeshkian, is going to be meeting with Putin in Kyrgyzstan next week. So that is very, very interesting. And I actually have some clips of these 200-character nuclear codes, emergency action messages. These are targeting codes to our nuclear forces. They're constantly being updated. But a 200-character one is very unusual. Here you can just listen to just a short segment of it. You could see it 15 minutes long because the operators have to reread the code after initially reading it. So they're actually reading 400 characters because they're reading the code twice, and they have to read it slow. So 14 minutes long. Insane. Listen to this.
Complete message of 202 characters is encouraged out.
Okay, this completes message of 202 characters, encourage out. And then here's another one that was actually canceled or disregarded like halfway through.
7 Romeo November standby. Message of 202 characters follows. India Romeo.
You can see that she's reading with a sense of urgency really quickly, and then here you can see where she disregards it.
Tango. Papa. X-ray. Bravo. Quebec. India. Lima. November. Tango. Papa. Uniform. November. Kilo. Disregard this transmission. This is encourage out.
She says, disregard this transmission. This is encourage out. And then here's another one that gets disregarded.
6, 3, 7, Romeo, November, stand by. Message of 202 characters followed.
So this is just totally insane. And if that's not insane enough, we have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base right now. It flew from STRATCOM headquarters earlier this afternoon. And remember, yesterday we had 5 nuclear war command and control planes airborne, which is totally insane. I haven't seen that many over the U.S. at one time since the Biden administration, when Iran and Israel were at war during the Biden administration. We also have some high priority aerial refuelers that flew from Kansas to the Azores, and these refuelers are associated with bombers and fighter jets. So I don't know if we were moving bombers and fighter jets over to Europe now, or if we're about to, or what, but these are high priority refuelers, call signs Blue 12 and Blue 13. There was also a C-5 Galaxy. This is the largest military cargo plane in the U.S. military. It left the Azores right around the time when the 2 high priority refuelers were landing or about to land, and it went to Ramstein. So a large amount of military equipment was moved to Ramstein, the primary military base for the U.S. in Europe. It's the largest military base outside of the U.S., okay? And Britain has agreed to provide Ukraine with the technology to produce Storm Shadow missiles. This was announced by the Prime Minister of Britain, Andy Burnham. So that is huge news, and we know that that's one of Russia's red flags, is European missiles being used in Ukraine. And the Prime Minister of the UK, Andy Burnham, warned that Britain faces Russian retaliation over its support for Ukraine. Security experts have told the Prime Minister of Britain to be prepared for a quote-unquote direct response from Putin. And I'm hearing unconfirmed reports that the Prime Minister of Britain and the royal family have been evacuated out of London for fear of Russian missile strikes on London now. And the U.S. said it disrupted a Chinese hacking operation that targeted the Justice Department, NASA, the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Senate, and various sensitive government agencies. Wow. And an Indian oil tanker named Hana attempted to pass through the southern route of the Strait of Hormuz, known as the Oman Corridor, but was deterred after receiving a warning. This was reported by Iran's Fars News. Okay, so Iran is not even allowing Indian oil tankers to go into the Strait of Hormuz. Very, very serious. And we have some interesting footage coming out of eastern Ukraine in the Donetsk region, showing fragments of what appear to be either Storm Shadow missiles, Scalp missiles, or possibly American JSAM or ERAM missiles that were used by Ukraine this afternoon to strike targets in Donetsk, deep in eastern Ukraine, in Russia-controlled Ukraine. So Russia is obviously not going to be happy. Putin is planning to nuke Ukraine. He's planning to invade the Baltics and Poland. That's why the CIA director was there. That's why we're hearing all these nuclear codes the last week or two. That's why we had a nuclear war exercise 2 weeks ago. That's why the doomsday planes are airborne every day. That's why all the nuclear war command and control planes were airborne yesterday. It's all coming to a head, so get prepared. Things are about to spiral out of control. And there were some massive flash floods in Nepal and Tibet and close to China, right along the border of Nepal, China, Tibet area. The footage is just totally insane. I'm going to be uploading a separate video compilation of all the footage from the Nepal floods. Totally insane. It reminds me of the Japan tsunami in 2011 after the 9 magnitude earthquake. Crazy footage. Be on the lookout for that. And here's actually a sample, just one clip of many that I'm going to be posting this evening.
पुरै त्रिशुली आमा लाइभ लाइभ यो चाहिँ है गाइस यस्तो लाइभ छ ओहो पुरा ड्याम फुटेर आयो यार पुरा चाइनाको ड्याम फुटेर आएर छ आमा ल यहाँ हामीले अब ओहो यार यो पुरा ड्याम फुटेर आएको यो घर गयो यो ल ल त्रिशुली बजारै गयो यार ल गयो यार ओ ए सिलास यता आऊ यता आमा यार बजारै गयो यार यहाँ नबसौँ ल अलि टाढा बसौँ टाढा यो पुरै ल घरहरू जम्मै गयो ल घरहरू जम्मै गयो यो पुरै आमामा ड्याम यार.
So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Oh, I forgot to mention, Canada has officially announced retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., apparently $27 billion worth of retaliatory tariffs on American goods. Announcing the policy, Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne stated that Ottawa will match Trump's recently implemented tariffs dollar for dollar and rate for rate starting September 8th. The Canadian government released a comprehensive list targeting over 700 U.S. products with tariffs of 15, 25, and 50%. Simultaneously, Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled a $7.5 billion emergency support package to insulate domestic businesses and workers from the escalating trade war. So this is major breaking news. Guys, all the oil we import from overseas, 2/3 of our imported oil comes from Canada. Okay, so not only do we have an oil crisis in the Middle East with the Strait of Hormuz that's jacked up our fuel prices, which haven't gone down since before the war. They're still very high. We have $6 a gallon diesel fuel here in Pennsylvania and many parts of the country. And now we're going to get into a trade war with Canada, and that's going to skyrocket fuel prices and a lot of other things. And then we're also hearing reports that Canada may cut off the electricity to parts of the U.S. because our power grid gets electricity from Canada, from Ontario. So parts of the Northeast like New York, New England, Michigan, Wisconsin, possibly Minnesota, they get electricity from Canada, and they're going to shut that off, okay? But that's it for now. I might be back later on tonight. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.